Good afternoon. I want to talk about training for a minute. I did not realize how fortuitous I was as a young college graduate, starting out with a Fortune 500, the money and time they spent on me in training. I remember going to those training sessions and I'm like, oh gosh, one more day, one more 3 days, one more week, one more hour of training. And I didn't see the value. And then almost 30 years later, I leave the business and I go into another industry and I look at just how poorly people are trained. And I'm challenging you to train your people. You're going to get an exponential reward. You're going to get happier clients. You're going to get happier, better trained employees. And it's an investment that you really don't see in black and white. You can't say if I spend X in training, I'm going to get 3X in return. But I believe you do. And as I got out of the banking business and I got into other industries and I would meet people and say, did they just not train these people? And training is something that as you're going through it, you don't like it, but you develop those habits. And if they're reinforced by management, then over time, the results start happening. And I used to, we would do new employee orientation and I would go in and do a spot for 15 years. I was fortunate enough to do a spot. And I talked about doing things out of the box, doing things differently. And what I had that was different, and I challenge you all to always surround yourself with the best people or the best advisors that you can. And to run your business in a matter with people who know what you don't know. I've always felt like one of my best attributes was I know what I don't know. So I don't know that. So I'm going to get somebody who does it. And I had directors in my case who were also shareholders who knew nothing about banking, but they ran very successful fast food chains, real estate companies, manufacturing companies. And they would look at me and they would say, why do you all do this? Well, you didn't want to say because that's the way we've always done it. And they changed my mindset. So we trained people different and we got them and we oriented them and then we began to train them. We taught them different ways of doing things that other companies just did because that's the way they always did them. And I love the one of, have you ever bought anything at a department store? This is, before everything was on the internet, and people still go to department stores. And the answer is everybody raises their hand. And then my question would be, have you ever bought anything at a department store at a discount that wasn't on sale? And people would look at me in the early years like, I knew this guy was crazy. I heard this company was crazy. They're crazy. And then I would say, well, every so many years, I wear shoes that go on sale and they're sold at department stores and I'll go to the mall and the mall closes at 9 o'clock and I'll go about 8 o'clock and I'll go into the first store and I'll say, I want these shoes and they'll be on sale. And I'll say, but if I buy 2 pairs, will you give me a discount? Well, the first thing the salesperson does is look at me like, oh gosh, it's late. I've got some crazy guy and he wants a discount, he wants a haggle, and this isn't a used car lot. And I'll say, well, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. I'm going to go down the other end of the mall to the Macy's. Well, immediately the gentleman looks at me and goes, excuse me. He goes, let me talk to my manager. Well, who knows if there's a manager there or not? He goes in the back and he comes out a few minutes later, probably called his wife and said, I got a nut at the end of the day, but I'm going to make a sale and get a little commission off of him. Comes out and said, if you buy 2 pair, I'll give you these shoe trees. Well, I looked at these shoe trees and they were not the $4.99 version. These were the $19.99. I was getting 2 sets and I'm already buying the shoes. The point is, all you have to do is ask. So as you're training people in the culture, you want to teach them to ask. You can change the table by asking questions, by asking for something that somebody else wouldn't ask for. Because all the customer can do, if you're dealing with customers, all the other people, is they can just say no. And no's an okay response. But I challenge you to train people, to make that investment, and as you train them, to get them to think a little differently than what your competitors think, or whatever. And that's the kind of institution that you want to run. You want to run a business that's a little bit different than everybody else, because you'll get different results, i.e. better results. And that's what this is about. It's about happier associates. It's about a better bottom line. It's about happier shareholders. It's about being a better citizen in your community. And that's the kind of thing you can do.